Hello, I figured that I would create a new tutorial here covering some of the new features as well as the old to replace the old tutorial here. So we'll keep this short and sweet. Um, we're just going to be using the demonstration character here that can be found for free on the Unreal Marketplace. She has morph targets, so this would be perfect to demonstrate on here. Alright, so let's get started. In order to use this system, we're just going to our blueprint here for our character. Whoop, if I stop flying around. And there's nothing in here. We're just gonna start from scratch, and I'll show you how this system works. So first things first, all you need to do is add the easy morph, there we go, easy morph targets component to your character. And there's only two things that can be called from this. We have the morph begin play, and then we have the morph triggers. This one gets set up on your character's begin play, so that way you can set up on which morph targets it needs to control, and then this one gets called for your states. We'll get to this in a second. This will make more sense. First things first, let's just get her set up. So we'll just use the morph begin play. Notice that we got an error here because we didn't fill any of this out yet. Okay, so the actor mesh, all we need to do is grab the mesh that we want to control the morph targets for. Go ahead and put that in there. For this morph targets here, we can right click on this and promote this to a variable. In this variable is where we put all of our morph target information. Not selected on the component itself, because these variables needs to stay where they're at so that way the system works correctly. So make sure you don't put any information on the component itself, but in the variable that we just created. Okay, so first things first, let's use the blinking feature here. If you do not want to use this feature, you do not have to. You can just leave them set to none, and it'll just, this part of the system won't even work. There are two slots here. There's one for the eye left, and there's one for the right. If you only have one morph target to control both eyes, you can just use this first one and leave the second one set to none, and it'll completely ignore this one. Or if you have them separate, you can put them in together and they'll work as a pair. So let's get her blinking first. Let's go over to our mesh. There we go. Let's make this a little slower so we can zoom in on her face so we can see what's going on here. All right. First things first, Morph Target Previewer. If this window doesn't show up, you can go up to Windows and you can find it here, Morph Target Previewer. This should display the morph targets you have on your character. If you don't have any morph targets that are in here, the system won't work because you do need morph targets because the system controls these weights of each one of these morph targets. So, quick tip as well before we even get started is do note that when you click on one of them and move it, if you go to move a second one without re-highlighting it, you'll notice it moves both of those together. So keep that in mind that you want to independently click things when we go to set up her face and everything. That can get a little bit annoying, so make sure you always select them. So in this case, let's get her blinking. She's got an eye blink left, and she has an eye blink right. These are the two that we're going to want to use. So we can take our eye blink left, go and paste that in here, and then we can take the eye blink right, go ahead and paste that in there, compile, save, and just with this set up just by itself already, if we go ahead and hit simulate here, you notice she's blinking. Alright, so let's go ahead and set up something a little more in depth here. I'll show you what this system is all about. If we drag out our easy morph targets again, and go to Morph Trigger. What this is we can set up states ahead of time, like groupings of all your morph targets, and then when you call one of these states, it'll seamlessly blend into that setup that you had under one of these trigger states. This will make more sense in just a second. We'll get this set up, but for now we're just going to set it for happy. And let's do a little delay. And let's say 3 seconds, and then it'll go into happy. Keep in mind, in your own coding, you can call these morph triggers wherever you want. Just for demonstration purposes, I'm just having it do have it trigger it after 3 seconds, and then it'll go into its happy state. But for right now, it's not going to do anything because we didn't fill out any of our morph target information. So what I like to do is go to the character itself. Here, we'll reset these so we can start over. And set this all up first on how you want her to look. So let's get her looking happy first. Brow in her up. I know we probably want that one up. Let's go about a 0.8. Looks good there. And then she has a smile left and a smile right. Let's try 0.6 for both of those. 0.7. She can smile a little bit more. That looks good. Alright, so we're using 1, 2, and 3 morph targets. So let's go back to our variable that we created, the morph targets. And let's add 1, 2, and 3. We'll open these up. And what I like to do first is set these triggers. So that way it doesn't get confusing on where all this information goes. Because if you have a bunch of morph targets that are in here, it can get a little confusing. So we'll go ahead and set these up first. Happy, happy, and happy. Alright. Now if you were previously using this system, you'll notice that there are some new features that are here. We'll cover those here in a second. But let's do the basics here first. What are these? So the morph target. The morph target is what is the name of the morph target here. The target value is the weight, what this is set at. So in this case, it's 0.7. And then the blend length. This is how long it takes for the morph target to blend from its last position to this new target value that you set it at. So this you can play with the time. It's not in seconds. So if you want to lower this, if you want it to go faster, you can. And if you want to raise it, you can slow it down if you think that it's going a little too fast. In the old system, this had to be a value of 1 or higher to work. That is no longer the case. You can go down to, let's say, 0.1, so you can make these morph targets blend pretty quick if you want it to. It's just completely up to what you'll be using the system for. So first things first, let's get this first morph target put in. Brow in or up. Copy that. Put that in here. And that is at a 0.8. That's where we liked it at. 0.8. And then we'll ignore this section for now. We'll cover this in a second. Anything past the loop and random. Let's just get these in here for right now. So the second one is the mouth smile left. That's at a 0.7. Let's put this in here. 0.7. And we got a mouth smile right. Let's open this up. And we'll go and put this in there. And that is also at a 0.7. So, like I said, you can have this trigger however you want for your coding. But after 3 seconds, this is going to hit the happy state that we just set up. So let's go check it out. Let's hit play. It triggers into our happy state. So let's cover some more of these other options here. What are these? So you notice you have a loop and you have a random uh, boolean that you can select here. If you set it for loop, what it'll do is it'll use this blend length and it'll blend to your target value, then back to 0, and back and forth and loop until another morph trigger is called. If you use the random variable with this, now you can go ahead and set up, well, what is the minimum target value and what is the max that it can go to. And it'll randomly select a new target value in that range. And the same goes for the blend length and blend length, or for the minimum and the maximum. And this is how long it'll do that. It'll randomly go around. So we'll leave it at 1, and for every 6 to 8 for our blend length, it'll pick a value between 0 and 1 and just keep going. This is for her eyebrows. You notice that it keeps randomly selecting different variables, and that'll continue to loop until another morph state is called. Now, some people are probably asking, what if you don't want to use any of these trigger states that are in here and you want to use it for a different purpose? That's really easy to do. All you got to do is go to your easy morph targets, and right here you can see it says easy morph target triggers. You can click on this. You can edit the names of any of these, or you can even add your own by clicking add up here and add a new one. And then after you recompile, you should be able to get a new trigger state that's in here. You can easily change those. If there's any more than 10 that are being triggered at a time, you should get a little pop-up that it's up here that'll tell you that your morph targets are full. If you get that, just do note that you probably have too many morph targets running at once. Another great thing about this system is if you trigger from, let's say, from happy to angry, like we did in this case, anything that was under happy it'll have a smooth transition back out of it before it goes to angry. So that way you don't have any leftover morph targets from happy that don't belong in the angry state. So that'll take care of all of that as well. That's pretty much it. This is a pretty easy system to use, and you should be up and running easily within just a matter of minutes to put this on your character. I hope you enjoyed here and have fun with it. If you have any comments or anything or any help that you need, feel free to send me an email, and I'd be more than happy to get back to you immediately on any ways that we can resolve any issues that you may have. You have a good day.